Well, American Horror Story Delicate is back on our screens after almost half a year. Yeah, I can't quite believe it either. It's been 5 months since episode 5 aired, and I'm not gonna lie, the marketing for its return hasn't been that great, because the return of the show almost slipped under my radar. But nevertheless, it's back, and we've got Emma Roberts as Anna trying to deal with all of the supernatural occurrences that are heading her way during her pregnancy. With us getting not one, but 2 deaths occurring in this opening episode, the second part is off to a bloody start, and I'm here for that type of approach. So with that, let's jump into the episode and break down all that there was to take away from it. Here is American Horror Story Delicate, Episode 6, Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. What happened to Dexter's mother? The ending of this episode was centered around Dex going to his mother's house following her not going to the launch night that he'd arranged and him being fully aware of her absence. The last time we saw Dex's mother was in the previous episode where she was speaking with Miss Preacher and she tried to warn her about the danger that she felt as though her family was in. If you cast your mind back to episode 5 several months ago, Mrs. Preacher said how the Cable of Witches were angry with Dexter for making one of their most loyal players, which was his previous wife Adeline, to defect from them. Hence why she was killed in the fire, because that was their way of seeking revenge. However, the death of his mother shows that revenge could still be on their mind. Dexter's mother was found in the bathtub of her home, with it looking like she'd ended things for herself. However, there was writing on the mirror which read, "I tried to warn you." Whilst this doesn't point to who it could be, let's look at the potential suspects. The first is the Cable of Witches. It said that they wanted to get revenge on Dexter, and this could quite literally be their way of doing that, hitting him where it hurts even more. The second is Dexter's father. We know that his mother was taking Dexter's father to court, and she wanted Dexter to testify against his father, something that he was refusing to do. In episode 5, there was a line that his mother said, which was, "What harm can it cause?" when discussing the fact that she was going to be taking him to court. And obviously, now, well, she's dead. So that's something that does seem very suspicious. Plus, the final suspect is Miss Preacher. Whilst it seemed as though she was looking out for Dexter's mother, she was in fact the person that warned her in episode 5. Something which does connect her to the final message that was written on the wall. So whilst this is the thinnest possibility of a suspect, it's still definitely an option. Who else had a message on their mirror? Anna did in episode 1, and Anna is closely linked to the witches that seem to be present in the show. So I think all fingers are pointing towards them being responsible for the death of Dexter's mother at this specific moment in time. The opening scene. This episode opened up back in 1988, 1 year after we saw the flashback in episode 5 where Miss Preacher made her deal and had to give her baby up. This saw a woman called Margaret bringing her baby back home and having to deal with the newborn whilst the husband, Mr. Alcott, just sat there and wasn't really involved. He treated his wife really poorly, wasn't there for the child, said he didn't feel like a dad yet, and also didn't listen to his wife when she needed him most. This kind of tied into the theme that was present amongst Siobhan and Anna when they were discussing the role that they felt men wanted them to play in society, giving up their dreams in order to take care of the children and be mothers whilst the men went out and enjoyed themselves and built their careers. Mr. Alcott was reading a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and this was whilst Margaret was taking care of the baby, showing that he was more invested in the opportunities that he wanted to build for himself rather than the family that he'd just brought into the world. However, where this section got really interesting was when Margaret actually ended up dying during the night due to an aneurysm, and it was then when we found out that the baby that was in front of us was Anna. Whilst in the hospital, Nicolette appeared looking exactly how she did nearly 30 years later in the present day. She took a hold of Anna and then sang Rockabye Baby, a lullaby that has a sinister meaning and origin. This lullaby was created back in 1688, where the lyrics were seen as a death wish which was directed towards the son of King James II, where many people hoped that he'd die and be replaced with a Protestant king. Within the context of this show, Ma was singing it to Anna, and then once she died and Nicolette picked her up, she sang it to her too. But she replaced the line, "Down will come baby, cradle and all," with "Down will come Anna, cradle and all," showing that even though at this point Anna was a young baby, they were interested in her all the way back then. So it's not solely directly linked to Dexter and Adeline like we originally thought it was. It's been a path that she's been on throughout the entirety of her life, and the timing is now just right for them. The meaning of the dolls. During this episode, we saw that more dolls were present around Anna. These dolls appeared in the entirety of the first part of the season, and they were almost like voodoo dolls. There were ones which had crosses on the stomach, nails in the stomach, and then once they would appear, Anna would go on to have pains or believe that she was losing the baby. Within this episode, there were 2 dolls which were added to the collection. One which had a mark on its back and another which had its legs broken, so that's something that doesn't paint a good picture for the future of Anna. After seeing these dolls, she pinned the location of where she found all of them on her Maps app, and the pathway of the map provided the symbol of Satanism, something which is a common theme within the show. There was also a speech that was being said during this episode where Anna was hallucinating and seeing Sonia, Talia, Ivy and Nicolette coming towards her. When translated, they were essentially saying things such as "Hail Satan," so they're definitely Satanists. These specific individuals haven't aged the entire time that we've seen them, so they are deeply connected to the dark entities. We know that they have the ability to manipulate what's going on within people's minds and even cause problems to occur within reality, like what we saw with Miss Preacher, Bloody Mary and her sister. So the fact that Anna is hallucinating the way that she is, it shows that they're fully in control of Anna's mind. I think not only do they want the baby, but I believe they also want to recruit Anna now, and I think that's something that's going to end up happening. The mark that was on Anna's face was more prominent in this episode, and we saw that Nicolette had the exact same mark on her face too. So they might actually want Anna just as much as they want the demonic baby that's inside of her. Oh, yeah. Anna's baby is definitely demonic, judging by those sharp nails and hands that pierced through her stomach. It looked the exact same as the one that Mary had a few hundred years ago. Is she giving birth to the devil? Maybe. The ending with Anna. Do you want an Oscar as much as you want a baby? That was the very question that was put towards Anna during episode 5, to which she responded with yes. And in this episode, following Babette's death, it seemed like Anna was now the person that was billed to win the Oscar. However, with that being the case, it feels like it could be one of those indirect deals that's just been made. Just like what happened with Preacher when she wanted to be successful in the fashion industry. It cost her a baby and her happiness. With all of the hallucinations that were happening at Dex's launch party, such as seeing the superfan that she previously saw when she won an award in the early part of the season, and also seeing what would be the cable of witches in front of her, it spurred her on to want to quit the running for an Oscar. This was something which caused Siobhan to quite literally slap it out of her, and she went on to give a speech about how she shouldn't give up on her dream in order to have a baby, giving in to what the men wanted her to do. It was also here where we saw that Hamish was announced to be dead. He was threatening Siobhan and saying that he was going to go to the press and tell them everything about their secret relationship. But also the fact that the movie that was destined to go nowhere, and the fact that he was told to just put his name on it, directed, and to not ask any questions about its origin. So that was something that he definitely shouldn't have done. Siobhan obviously killed him, there's no denying that. But what was interesting about it was that it was made out like he did it himself, just like what happened with Dex's mother. So there is actually a connection there in the approach, which could provide more clarity over the death of Dex's mother. With Anna seeing a card that said, "You can't trust any of them," and then seeing Miss Preacher in the corner, it feels like we're now going to be seeing the two characters together, Preacher telling Anna about her past, everything that she went through, and the price that she had to pay for it. So I'm intrigued to see how it's all going to go down. My review of the episode. I thought this was a good way to launch the show back onto our screens. Don't get me wrong, it took me a while to get back up to speed with what was going on, but that's always going to happen after not being in the world for several months and having a mid-season break. What it did make me realise though was that I missed the world of American Horror Story. There's nothing else like it on screen, and granted the show isn't as good as what it once was, but seeing the faces and getting the tone of the show back was a great way to spend 45 minutes. Emma Roberts is the real face of the show, and she's definitely the best performer in this season. She carries the role so well, and you feel the pain that she feels not only within her mind, but also physically too. I also think that Kim Kardashian has grown on me. I remember at the start thinking she was a bit like an NPC, but I feel as the episodes have gone on, she's grown into the role more. It does genuinely feel like there are so many different directions that this season could go in, but with only 3 episodes left, I feel the pacing is going to be rapidly increasing now, and it's something that I'm really looking forward to. So, there you have it, American Horror Story Delicate Episode 6, Ending Explained. If you want to see more videos on American Horror Story Delicate, then click on the card in the top corner. I've covered every episode from the beginning and will be continuing to do so until the end of the season. So head over to the channel to find the breakdowns. What did you think of this episode? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thanks for tuning into the video, and I'll see you in the next one.